And welcome everybody to Tech Magic. My name is Lee Kebler. Along with me today is not Kathy. Kathy is out at the Cannes Movie Festival. You and I were talking about this. This is Adam Davis-McGee, longtime friend, brilliant producer in the immersive space and in the videography space, live event, location-based entertainment. I struggle to put you in a box. You will do this better than I will. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Keeves. My name is Adam Davis-McGee. Oh, yeah, I call him Keeves. I call you Keeves. Can I call you Keeves?
You can call me Keeves. Okay, so for those who don't know, if you're new, yeah, my name's Lee Kebler, but long time standing in the music industry, music producer, and that was all done under the name Keeves. Adam and I met through the music industry, and so therefore he calls me Keeves because that's my other life.
Yeah, my name's Adam Davis-McGee. I go by ADM, Adam. You summed it up pretty well. I mean, I'm a creative director and producer. I've been working in the XR space since 2016, and my background's in, the traditional 2D digital storytelling space. And yeah, I'm very, very honored and excited to be here. Obviously, love Kathy, and I'm just, wishing her all the best as she enjoys Cannes. Kind of just wish I was in, the South Riviera hanging. But yeah, for those of you listening, definitely, I'm not Kathy. So in case you haven't figured that out.
No one's put two and two together. You have a long-standing working history with Kathy as well. And that's where when she was like, I cannot make this show, call Adam. I was like, okay.
I am humbled and honored.
Well, Adam, tell people a little bit about what have you been doing lately? You and I haven't caught up in a while. I'm hanging out writing books in Portland, Oregon and working in the tech space and kind of leading a few projects. What have you been up to?
I have really been going back to a little bit of my roots, which I'm from Minnesota. I'm actually recording in Minnesota right now. I'm based in Los Angeles, but I am in my hometown. And this year, I've really been digging back into the things that excite me as an artist, as a creative, as a storyteller. That's what I consider myself first and foremost. And I just came off of doing one of my most exciting projects I've done the last 3-4 years, which is working at this music festival called Lightning in a Bottle, where I manage close to 50 live painters. And it's not even an XR thing. This is a traditional paint and canvas setup.
Organic art.
Organic artists.
It's in that organic aisle.
It's super cool because if you're not familiar with LIB, it's a really awesome live music EDM festival put on by the Do Lab. My role within the festival is to help these artists, these close to 50 live painters. They're creating an original piece on site at the music festival. And on the last day of the festival, we have an art walk and an art auction for them. So they get to sell off their pieces, and these artists make money from their work. I think for me, being in that space the last few years, I've kind of taken for granted just what that really means and what that brings to people. And in this time, in this era of artists having to advocate for their agency, for their ownership, and just really being in conversation with a lot of technology, I find myself really getting excited to bring new types of experiences that really bridge those worlds. The artists that may not have been coming into XR yet or anything like 3D or anything like that, but also bringing the technology, some of the more innovative tools to artists to enhance their work and to enhance their stories and to create new types of experiences. So that's kind of where my brain and heart has been hanging out at, coming off of the festival and being back home in Minnesota, where I used to do a lot of events around art and music. That intersection of music and art, I think, is really what the DNA is in my bones. So that's what's on my heart. That's what's on my brain. That's what I've been doing.
When you're out there and you're working with some of these visual artists, do you hear the looming murmurs, the tiptoeing elephant in the room called AI and all of that? Because that's going to go right into kind of our first story here. But I want to hear a little bit more about, as you're surrounding yourself in this last event with so many people who really are kind of at the front of the line for the most to lose, what is that dialogue like? What is being said, especially when you come in and you're saying, hey, let's bridge the gap and do this really innovative stuff? I mean, there's got to be a little bit of hesitancy from, analog art to digital content, right?
It's funny because some of the artists are so excited and open to it. And others, it's not conducive to who they are and what they want to do and what they want to be. So you have a mixed bag of certain artists that are really trying to figure out what that next chapter looks like for them. And then I'm having conversations with, so there's one artist that we're so grateful to feature every year who flies in from Peru and has this incredibly photorealistic, just detailed style of the Amazon, of the jungle, of nature. Just he draws these exquisite sunsets. Like when he puts a sunset or a moon like on canvas, it looks like a sun. It looks like it glows. It just is incredible. And his name is Alfredo. I just wanted to shout him out. But he's someone that has 3D glasses anchored to the wall that we're featuring his work on because he's using UV light and paint to create depth. And just, it's an incredible skill. It's incredible style that he's crafted over the years. And he's one of those guys that's like, yeah, I'm already using 3D glass. Like I'm already incorporating nature and technology together. So those are the artists that I tend to find my way to sneak some conversations into to tell them about my other job, my other role. But I'm not out there beating the drum of like, you got to do this, you got to convert, you got to embrace AI. I'm an evangelist, but I'm also very much a purist in certain sense of the word.
You're not out handing pamphlets, right? Like,
I'm not taking them to the church of AI, knocking on doors to convert. I like to say this, right? I tell my artists, like, I get to do my job. I don't have to do my job. I get to be out here with them and get to learn from them because they're all so talented and so gifted. And they all have such different styles from all different backgrounds. And I listen more than I guess I do bark a lot of orders because I got to babysit, but I listen.
Someone's got to keep the train going, right? Like
someone's got to keep the train going. That's my job. That is my job. I got to do my job, but you know what it's like. Imagine wrangling like 50 live painters. Like 50 artists.
Yeah, I do it with 50 developers all the time. Yeah, I get that. So this leads into one of our first articles, our first stories of the day, right? So I think a lot of people are aware of, and I've got a real like thorn in my side over this story. That's why I put it right at the top of the heap. The New York Times, who's notoriously was first to cross that legal threshold of no, OpenAI, you seem to be scraping our digital content. This isn't cool. We're going to create a lawsuit, blah, 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 blah. And every single creative who's out there, every artist, every writer was saying, yes, go get them, carry that banner, woo, woo, woo. So what happened was New York Times Union is claiming in a paper that the New York Times is going through a firing process, a layoff process of their human artists to replace them with artificial intelligence.
Yeah. They fired like half of the artists, a substantial amount.
Now, see, here's my problem. And I don't see this being discussed on the internet. I'm not seeing it in the heated Reddit comments. I'm not seeing the real breakdown here. I think most people's knee-jerk reaction to this is, sure, companies do this. It's a cost-saving measure. Of course, this is what's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? If you were talking to me about anyone other than the New York Times, I'd be right there with you.
For those that don't know, the New York Times is suing OpenAI.
Yeah, to clarify. So with that lawsuit, I'm just kind of like, man, okay, so let me see how this goes. There's lawsuits, may settle. I doubt it will settle, especially now. If I were OpenAI, I wouldn't be settling on this because if the complaint is you are leveraging your AI model by scraping our data, our intellectual property. Now, that same company is going to leave behind all thoughts of man-made art, artists, paying staff to do their creativity, to create that artificial art. Then you are perpetuating or at least accepting the outcome that the art you're going to use by your own argument is scraping intellectual property that belongs to another person. Like, it just feels wrong to me.
I would have loved to see the Times, instead of seeing the announcement that they've let go human creatives, I would have loved to have seen that the New York Times is now going to develop their own AI in partnership with their creatives, with their teams to create new types of art. That's what I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world. But see, like, that's the thing is, I'm torn on this because when the New York Times lawsuit came out, I was like, this is not going to make it because you have to make a burden of proof of where this stuff comes from. And they were the closest to probably be able to make that burden of proof because they pretty much could say, look, this is almost word for word a result from what we had written. Okay, so you can make that logical argument, but you're still taking it into a court system that really doesn't know how to handle new technology just in general. Now, it's just kind of hypocritical. I don't have another word for it.
Yeah, it seems entirely hypocritical.
I tried. I pulled out that thesaurus. I even asked ChatGPT, what's another word for this? And it was like, yo, man, it's hypocritical. I don't know what. It just seems a little weird to me.
I mean, look, unless we're missing something, I don't see the play here because this can easily be used against them and their ongoing lawsuit, right? And overall, it sets such a poor example in this whole conversation. And this is the union, right? So the New York Times union is really out here. So I wouldn't mind some clarity on understanding how the union's role and the New York Times' role are working in tandem, in partnership or against each other during this whole OpenAI lawsuit too.
It just feels weird. It's like a county, like outlawing gambling, but they got their own casino that's open just for the county employees, right? Like it just feels weird.
It's very weird. It's very weird. It does not seem like a smart move. I mean, legal and ethical implications abound. It's just super ironic that the Times' actions against OpenAI for using content without permission, it seems like a really wrong move.
It's a strange tune, strange change. I mean, these things do happen. I still think that we're going to see similar things crop up, especially in the music industry. We've seen some of those arguments already be made. My stance on it as a music producer has always been, I think it's an interesting tool to make samples that you can turn into new production. I honestly don't see a future where like AI-based music is anything more than cheesy music beds in the back of bad commercials for like daytime TV. But I do think that there will be more that comes out in this space. And as we start tripping over, oh, that sounds an awful lot like fill in the blank, we may see that come back up into play unless something broader comes in and takes over.
That comparison to music, and I think there's always a lot to learn from how tech disrupted music and how it will do the same to other industries. There's the whole conversation around just the implications of AI replacing human roles and journalism. But like, if we're just looking at how tech really replaced humans in music, I mean, let's be real. When you could have GarageBand on your laptop and you could have all of the studio prices, all of the engineer prices, everyone's.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply. Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Rates, everything just went down and things were lost. And the New York Times is clearly, they're an industry leader, an industry voice. So again, the union's role of like needing to protect jobs from being automated. I don't know if you're just trying to stop a monsoon. It's kind of tough.
It's interesting. So it's a weird segue to the next story where like on this particular one, you have a union who's trying to protect the people from technology. In our next story, you've got people needing to step up to protect the people to have access to that technology. So I'm reading an article last night that kind of shakes me a bit because I've always been a big fan of things like public utility when it comes to education, when it comes to the public library. And I've always thought there needs to be some type of subsidized or public utility-based internet. I was a big part of the fight for net neutrality in 2015, which we sadly did not make through, but it seems to be coming back, so I'm happy about that. But we're looking at 1 million New York City households that are currently set to lose high-speed internet access. I think you were able to read through a bit of this story. Basically, there's an expiring federal program that was basically there to subsidize for underfunded homes the access to internet, basic access to information. With that expiring, surely this is something that you would see higher up, I think, in the news cycle, but we're not currently seeing it.
Yeah, it's really, really tragic. I mean, certainly if it remains, like if this goes through, and there's nearly a quarter of New York City that lack internet in 2021, that was the stat. And most of those individuals are in East Harlem, the Bronx, Long Island. It's one of those things where we might not be seeing the headlines now, but please believe if people are without their mobile devices and their internet for long enough, we'll start seeing some headlines and they'll be bringing that money back in there real quick. But it's tragic. It's tragic. And I'm no politician, but I do know that the mayor of New York has pushed some successful programs into the city to make sure that New Yorkers have access to Wi-Fi, to cell phone services. So there's been these partnerships between corporations like, Verizon, other ISPs. They're trying to meet these cities halfway to do it, which I can applaud them for that. But we got to do more. We got to do more. There's no reason for this headline to even be coming across our desk like that a quarter of the city is going to be facing not having Wi-Fi.
That's an insane number. I mean, if you think about it, like Manhattan as an island, as just a geographical piece of space, is not actually that large. It is already networked, and it has been. So this is not an infrastructure situation, right? Like I can kind of understand when you get into those ISP arguments, internet service provider arguments of saying, well, we can't hit all rural neighborhoods because there's just not the infrastructure there and it would cost too much and we can't get subsidy for that. Even though, if my memory is correct, the Biden administration has done quite a bit to roll out internet access to those rural areas. We're talking about Manhattan. We're talking about the most networked piece of land, second to maybe Tokyo, in the world. And it's just getting shut off because of a federal subsidy, basically. It just seems insane. And every time that something like this kind of pops up, I keep waiting to see like the next shoe drop for like access to public libraries and things like that. Because anyone who says access to these educational tools shouldn't be subsidized by the government is making what they would deem a fiscally responsible but socially irresponsible argument, in the sense that find me any country that has failed because they financially supported education and the transference of information. It's just not there. That's not where things crumble. You just don't lose by betting on education.
Education, investing in job opportunity and job access. I mean, like if you're educated, right, but you're still, for whatever reason, in a situation like New York, where, let's be real, it is one of the most expensive cities to live. But like, I need Wi-Fi. I'm a college student coming out. Like,
when you cannot apply for a job in person, which, listen, maybe you're over 60 years old and you think you can still take your resume and walk in with some gumption and land you a job on just shaking someone's hand. They're not there. There's nowhere to go. Like, no, most jobs are applied for online. When you have to apply for your job online and say you are on unemployment and you have a quota of how many jobs you should be hitting, but really what you want to be doing is hitting, look, I want to make 15, 20 applications a day, maybe 30, maybe more. Maybe you're just out there like hustling. You have to do that all online. And for you to have to now figure out a way from your home to like, I guess, a public library or something, it's just wild.
Yeah. And look, Starbucks, whatever coffee shop, I don't know. Like there's places to get free Wi-Fi. Sure. We all know that. But
you got to buy something to be in there. And if you don't have a job, you can't buy something to be in there. They don't want you in there, freeloading off their Wi-Fi. They're a business too.
There were some interesting stats that they were kind of like a little unsettling, but out of that article, they were talking about that 9 out of 10 New Yorkers who earn less than $25,000 a year pay at least half their income on rent. And that half of all the households in the city can't afford basic needs without assistance. So you're talking about people that really and truly need support. And there's more than enough dollars and there's more than enough infrastructure to help make sure that the affordable connectivity program or whatever else is there, that it can be brought back to life. It can be sustained. I think there's something to be said too, just about what does it look like to really create an equitable solution. So sure, you're providing the needed bandwidth, the broadband, the bandwidth and broadband, but what does it also look like to make sure, like to your point, Keebs, like we are educating folks to be able to compete in this next wave of the digital economy? The digital divide has been talked about for years, since I can remember, closing the digital divide. And I thought we in 2024, would at least have ticked off a few of these boxes by now. So this is really serious.
Yeah, it's weird to see something like this pop up. Anyways, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with some really weird conversation about brain-computer interfaces and Elon Musk. So that's going to be fun. We'll be back with Tech Magic right after this. All right, we're back. This is Tech Magic. My name's Lee Kebler. Kathy is at the Cannes Film Festival. So I am here with Adam Davis-McGee, brilliant producer, creative, VR, AR, location-based entertainment specialist, kind of jack of all digital trades.
A master binge watcher of all things.
Okay, so what are you watching right now? I was going to get into something, but I want to know this. I haven't asked you this in a while. What are you watching right now?
So my wife and I just finished Shogun. That's actually something that I'd seen ads for. I wasn't immediately drawn into it, but I started hearing the whispers of how good it was, and it really did live up to just an incredible, beautiful piece of storytelling and world building. We really enjoyed watching that and being in that world. And apparently it was the first and largest production to be about Japan that was done outside of Japan, filmed outside of Japan. And it was a beautiful series. It got me just really wanting to understand and learn just a little bit more about. So just as a side tangent, the show takes place in like the 15 or 1600 Japan, right? And you're talking about a time where every single little detail, the mannerisms, the way in which you pour your sake, the way in which you talk to your, like everything. And the show had like 3 consultants, like just mannerisms consultants and advisors. So like there was just so much that was such a beautiful juxtaposition of the culture that I'm familiar with and that I'm immersed in. And it just really got me wanting to learn more and understand that just with the body, with the mind, and that Japanese just way of being. It's just very different.
It's a different mindset, which is the segue that I was hoping you would take to the next story. Yeah, that was a good setup. We'll knock it down.
You're welcome.
So Elon Musk, as all interesting sentences start, Elon Musk is CEO leading, I believe he's the CEO. He's at least one of the leading forces behind Neuralink, which is a brain-computer interface that has just gotten out of its first human trial. For those unaware of what a brain-computer interface is, it's actually an embedded computer interface inside of the brain. And before things get too weird, because we're going to go there, but before they get too weird, there's a lot of really good medical reasons for these type of technologies to be researched and put in, especially when you start looking at people who might have disabilities or they're trying to overcome some type of adversity from an accident or something like that and regain mobility. There are plenty of long-standing reasons why.
Or you are like me and you're just like, just sign me up. Just sign me up.
No, would you though? Like, because
Put me in, coach, for the human trials of the Neuralink. Put me in.
You just want to download Kung Fu and have that, like, I know Kung Fu moment.
The relationship between my mind and just life, all of it, I think it's one of the most dynamically chaotic parts of existence. So understanding that and like being able to unlock and dive deep, I'm here for it. Yeah. I don't know why you didn't choose me for the trials, Elon. I was a perfect candidate, but whatever.
You got me on that one. Look, I don't trust Elon with my social media, let alone with my brain. I just don't know if I can like put that in the hands of a single company, right? And like, I think that's the thing. This isn't just about Neuralink. And I think that's one of the interesting things is like Neuralink's not the only one out there, right? So there's a company called Cycron. This is what the article is about. Neuralink and Elon, okay, they're the ones who are kind of like publicly out to do them, but Cycron's been at this for a little while and they've got a completely different approach to it. one of their big hurdles was recently met. They've used basically brainwave reading technology, BCI computing technology to interface with languages like ChatGPT. This started with ChatGPT 1. So this really was an experiment that just wasn't really publicly known until recently, but it goes all the way back to ChatGPT 1, where they were leveraging that large language model to try to interpret what a person was thinking, to read the patterns of their mind of what they were actually thinking and put it into words, which that to me, bananas. That's just on a different level. And they've done this. This has been tried 6 times. There have been 6 patients with severe paralysis, quadriplegics, and they've been utilizing their technology to kind of bring their thoughts and words back. This is what got me. They were successful to be able to do this, basically leveraging large language models with AI, looking at the brainwave, to produce speech returns at a rate of 62 words per minute. That's bonkers. Like,
62 words per minute doesn't probably sound like a lot to people. Should that be considered a lot?
I would think 6 words. I would think 622 words, right? Like the fact that it is getting fairly accurate readings and being able to convert 62 words per minute back is more than if you cannot talk at all, right?
I'll tell you what, when I hear that, what is so interesting to me is actually the role reversal of test subjects, which is when we typically have the animals getting tested first. And we did have the animal test first for Neuralink to help the humans. But I think in this instance, once we're able to understand what the whales are saying and what your pet dog is saying because of this technology, that's going to be what's really wild.
You know what? I hadn't thought about that.
And there's a show on Apple, I will give it credit, like that got me thinking about this. And I had to do research, and these companies are out there, but all of this stuff is overlapping. The show's called Extrapolations, but literally in the future where that's part of a scientist's role is spending time with animals using this technology to really get a sense for what the animal needs, what's happening, and how to educate it about the earth and our ecosystem and like climate. So like there's a whole nother place my brain goes when I hear this, and I'm thinking, oh, great. Now we're getting closer to, so I can, talk to my dog about Netflix movies, Shogun.
You have a cute little dog, right? Tiny little fluff ball. You put this brain computer interface on your dog, and it just, the first thing out of its head is, I'm going to eat you. I'm going to eat you. And it just doesn't stop. And that little tail's just a wag.
It's just going to be treat, 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 treat. Yeah, no, that's what's great is I'll be able to, as dominant food chain, I'll be able to switch it off.
All right, enough of that. And yeah, I don't understand what you're saying anymore. Sorry, buddy. That's funny.
But honestly, like for folks out there in the BCI space, I think we are going to be seeing the invasive solutions that will be being installed directly onto the body, to like the brain and to organs or what have you. But then there's obviously I think we're going to reach a point too where they won't be as invasive, right? The topical solutions I think are going to appeal. But first and foremost, man, the fact that we're in human trials for the Neuralink and that they're getting severe paralysis and quadriplegia, like patients with these ailments, I mean, I think it's a great thing. I really do.
It's always interesting to kind of see where we get excited about the science fiction of how we interpret technology. And then when people smarter than us find really valuable use cases for it, it just kind of hits us like a bolt of lightning of like, oh yeah, of course. And really, I recently read an article in Apple News that was about the Apple Vision Pro being a utilization for people who have severe vision issues, people who have to work at a computer screen and they can't actually see the screen, or it puts them in a hunched position. People who have those kind of like disabilities going towards Apple Vision Pro because it has such great lenses to be able to expand and grow a screen to whatever they want so they can sit comfortably and continue working. I've always kind of felt like there was an underlying reset when it came to virtual reality, augmented reality headsets as it pertained to people who had like vision issues to enhance and change all of that. So to see this particular article really highlighting not just one use case, but it really does focus on one person who's visually disabled, but it kind of paints a broader picture of how I think we take for granted a lot of this hardware, because unless you have that disability, you're not really currently thinking about, oh, it does that. And Apple Vision Pro having its incredibly robust power and its really clear lenses, it's nothing to read text. I remember the day when you put on a VR headset and if it had text, you couldn't read it. That's going to be my old man rant when I'm, in the retirement home of back in my day, you couldn't read in VR. Okay, Grandpa. But we're kind of already approaching a place where no, that's very reasonable. So I don't know. One of those things popping up is interesting.
I want to ask you something, just going back real quick. You mentioned Synchron, and I want to just get a little clarity, because is Synchron competing with Neuralink? Like, are they both in the running to like do it first, or is Synchron a company that is going to be able to enhance what Neuralink is doing?
Okay, so I don't know. That's a great question. My immediate reaction, my gut reaction, is anyone who is working inside of things that are medical, while they may have an air of competition between them, should have more of a collaborative spirit than a competitive one, because all rising tides raise all ships, especially when it's something as important as this. I can't fathom not learning from each other. No different than like SpaceX has obviously learned a ton from NASA, right? And NASA's obviously keeping a close eye on SpaceX. When it comes to those type of sciences where there's just so much on the line, if they are in competition and not working together, I don't want anything to do with it.
Well, this is really interesting because, and I completely agree with what you just said, the conversation around accessibility as it pertains to technology and the role that technology has played to really, really make just life more accessible and people's experience more accessible. There's this ethos that user as designer. It's from actually some folks here in Minnesota that I'm a really big fan of, but the idea of designing something, a product for something, but you include the people that it's for. And I just really want to just call that out and just be a big champion of that. Like when we're talking about tech, we often leave out the way in which these tools are impacting people's lives for the better, just for the absolute better. From the early days of the Sidekick, the T-Mobile Sidekick and what that could do, to the iPhone itself. And I think you and Kathy may have even discussed that a little bit about how the iPhone, but like there's an incredible timeline of innovation, but those conversations get left off the table a lot. That the bigger headlines of like AI and art come about, but the conversations around the Vision Pro, the voiceover, the sound actions, like all of those different features are really, really helping improve life and creativity and expression for so many people.
I'll tell you what really gave me kind of a mental shift when it came to looking at accessibility tools. A couple of iterations ago on the iOS update, they allowed you to train a voice in your voice. They kind of leveraged their own voice AI training model within the phone. And you basically do have to sit there and talk to your phone, reading what's on the screen for like 15 minutes. It was very annoying. But what did come out of it was this interesting ability to leverage that voice into a speaking tool through the accessibility tool on the phone. Here's the thing. I initially didn't understand it. I didn't get why this was important. I thought it was interesting, and I was disappointed that I couldn't leverage it to read full like ebooks or something like that back to me. And I think we'll get that in time.
Can I go dark real quick?
Yeah.
So you and Cass, you guys have been married for a while. Cassie's Lee's wife, folks.
Yep. Cassie, not Kathy.
Yeah, did not say Kathy. Cass or Cassie. The ability to record her voice is done. It's the features there. And then, of course, one day she's gone. But do you, as a partner, decide to preserve her voice and have it reread some messages or like use it in any kind of way? Or are videos enough? Like are existing videos enough? Or do you preserve that voice and use it in some sort of way after someone's gone?
That's a tough question. I had this thought when I first discovered volumetric video, right? The ability to capture not just like 3D movies, but like true volumetric video where you could basically build a hologram in person. This is technology that has existed since the dawn of the Xbox Kinect publicly. And so I played with that quite a bit. And I had the same question of like, what does this mean? And I think Apple is trying to answer it as well with their like living movies, this stereoscopic view of video where you can then replay. They show it quite often, but it's always kind of like a parent who just had a kid's birthday is now reliving that moment of birthday, so it doesn't seem creepy. They don't show it where grandpa is sitting in a retirement home watching old videos of him and grandma when they were, in their 30s and they took that trip to Spain.
Interesting.
Because, I don't blame Apple for not making that, but that is what they're selling, right?
Yeah. The future nostalgia. That's it. I'm here for it.
We say that, but all right, I'll talk about this. And you know this as well. But for those who don't know, my mom passed away years ago, a decade and some change. And I was playing with 11 Labs early on, which is a voice print AI system. And I had some like old home movies from like Christmas 1993 or something like that I was converting digitally so my grandmother would have copies of it because they were all on VHS. So I was getting them to like a private YouTube channel so she could watch those videos that she had wanted to see. And so I had this content and I was like, oh, I could actually voice print like my family members over this. And so like I played with it with a few of like the things like that. And then like it voice printed my mom's voice. That was weird. I just basically had to nope out of it because it was reading stuff in her voice that was not anything she had ever read.
Yeah.
And it didn't sound exactly like her, right? Like voice print is almost there. It sounds really good. But when you are personally attached to that voice, I think it still falls into that uncanny valley of like, you can tell the difference. Maybe the world can't, but you can tell.
Sure. Absolutely. It gets awkward. It gets
awkward. Yeah. Quick. I didn't have like any emotional moment to it or anything like that because it didn't hit a home run, right? It was just kind of like, okay, this is strange. Technology has gone far enough. And I just had to back out of it before it got weird.
I'm going to go even darker with that and just imagine there's some kid in New York who might not have Wi-Fi right now, but who's going to create one of the next tools that can like, really take your parent and create an AI parent, like the parent that you need, and be that voice for you, give you all of that encouragement. Because maybe they were there one time and they were here once and they were that parent. They were really that parent. They were a great role model or a great uncle. Role model might actually be a great name for that.
Role model. Okay. Okay. Trademark TM. Right. There you go.
There you go. Have it.
Oh, wow.
And I just say that because I relate to you because I also lost my father and he was a great role model. And I wish I could hear his voice sometimes, all the time, as a parent, as a dad, all those things. So
yeah.
That's the magic, man.
That's a deep one. I don't know. I think when you start converting it into AI and it attempts to take on a personification of that relative or of that person who's like important to you,
I put those ideas in the context of like where a few years ahead of time, like we really mastered the model design, not now in the hamster era.
I was actually talking about this on a walk with my wife the other day, in the sense that in the course of humanity, not just in like the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, but in the course of all humans who have walked barefoot on our land, we are in such a very small group that has been able to keep images of that actual person past them passing away, right? So like since the 10 type photograph. Prior to that, we had drawings and we had very realistic looking paintings and things like that if you could afford them. But by and large, you had your family members, and as they left, part of that mourning process was the fading process.
Yeah.
We don't fade anymore. I mean, we see that just in like people having to go and remember to disable, like there's a setting when you go to disable someone's Facebook page of like, what do you do when you die with your Facebook data? It's in there. It is sitting under those things. Like you do not disappear as how the rest of the world sees you, even though you're gone. So like, would what you're discussing actually be a disservice to the human experience, to the conventional understanding of mourning and healing, right? And potentially lead to a unhealthy, obsessive state of depression, possibly.
I think we have to go through all iterations, from whatever versions of our ancestors, Homo sapiens that had to
be real. You're talking about creating digital ghosts. Like this is literally ghosts in the shell.
I'm here for us being able to leverage that and harness that creative ceremony, and digital ceremony, because what you're talking about is the timeline of how we have grieved and how we have lived or faded. And that's the whole thing, is the next iterations of them can be different.
Okay, let's lighten this up, because you know a little bit more about this, like tangentially from some of your actual work. You have worked with, you are connected with, I know this part of like your working history with an estate of a past very famous performer singer who, when alive, was adamant, do not recreate me.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
So I am here to honor the wishes of the human, of the being. And that particular artist had a very open mind, a very innovative mind.
Are you able to talk about that? Are you able to say this out loud or no?
Well, I mean, look, the work that Keebs is talking about is tied to my involvement and being in the conversations with the Prince estate around how we carry on his legacy through innovation, right? Like that's the space that I'm in, is to think about how you celebrate this man's work and catalog through these future tools, these innovative tools. And yeah, he had a lot of things to say. Some of those things, they're very New York Times. They were contradictory, right? They were very hypocritical. He definitely was that guy. But there are certain artists, right, that are here on the opposite end of that spectrum. And that's what I mean by like being able to hold space for all of the diversity of what that can look like. And what you said, what you got me thinking about, is very much so like the innovation of grief, the innovation of our relationship with death, and the relationship of ghosts, being ghosts, all of those things. And I don't want us to miss the opportunity where we can recalibrate our relationship with death and life with technology in some really healthy and healing and meaningful ways. I'm going to remain open and optimistic to that. But also, we have to be very intentional and cautious with that too.
All right, well, we're going to bury this one. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more tech magic right after this.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD Advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
All right, we are back with Tech Magic. My name is Lee Kebler. Kathy is at the Cannes Film Festival. I am joined by Adam Davis-McGee, good friend, technologist, producer, all around brilliantly nice guy. So, you know what I didn't say though? I didn't say gamer. So Kathy's a gamer. I'm a gamer. I don't see you as a gamer.
I'm not. I will be the first one to tell you I am not. And you know, it's funny because I don't know what constitutes a gamer technically. Like, I've logged hours growing up at various forms, but I cannot identify as a gamer. I just can't, because especially in my 20s and 30s, like I was a Nintendo 64 kid.
You know what? I wasn't a gamer in my 20s and 30s either.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm actually surprised to hear that because I thought you were, but.
No, I mean, I was when I was a kid. And then when I hit my 20s and went to college, I really just kind of missed that entire era because I was in college. I was working on trying to break into the music industry. I was busy, right? There wasn't a ton to be said when it came to gaming and music at the time, or so I thought. I was probably wrong about that. But then, Guitar Hero came out and all of a sudden there was music and gaming. But it kind of came back in force when I got into the VR space, because that was what you did with VR for a very long time. Even though I was working enterprise, some of the most interesting aspects of VR was still being discovered inside of gaming, which led me back to start researching gaming so I could make better virtual reality designing for my clients. But then, honestly, a big part of it has been like the Nintendo Switch was a big part of bringing me back in, because they've been re-releasing games that I missed and that gap. And it's like, oh, I can actually go back and play that now that I have a little bit of spare time. Okay, cool. I'm going to go do that. But the reason I brought this up was the number 2 game on Steam is a banana right now.
I don't know what that even means.
No one should, but yet here we are. Over the weekend, 420,000 concurrent players were playing a game called Banana on Steam. Steam database logs whoever is like playing, how many players are playing specific games. And they were the number 2 game. It's a free-to-play game. And it is a game that shows you a banana on the screen with a 0 over it. And when you click the banana, that 0 turns to 1. When you click it again, it turns to 2. And so on and so forth. It's just a click, 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 click game where you click on a banana. If you click somewhere else on the banana, it doesn't do anything. And the number goes up. And as you play and as time progresses, you earn different skins for this banana. So different peels. That's the end of the game. 420,000 people played this game. And the entire gaming world is just like, why? What is possibly happening here?
I need to know.
I think I know. Because as soon as this happened, I was like, someone out there's got to know. So I start trolling through Reddit. I start looking on YouTube. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Why are people clicking a banana? So when you earned these skins, you can actually take these skins and you can sell them on the Steam platform. You can resell them. And it's functionally NFTs.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
They're non-fungible tokens, but it is by and large the same concept of like, oh, I'm going to earn these and then I'm flipping them because people are paying for them.
But hold on. If I buy the skin, like I started at, like you said, I click once, I'm at 2. Let's say I'm at 2, right? I did it once. If I buy your skin, does it skip me to 100? Like 150? Do I have my clicks advance? Like what?
It doesn't even go on the banana on the screen. Let me be clear. It is a digital trading card in your Steam account. It's no different than an NFT.
So there's a banana collector subreddit. Like there's
Donkey
the
Kong
crew.
just in the background connecting all the bananas.
Wow. And you know what? I just want to say this. Even though I'm over here saying I don't get it, the thing is, I don't have to get it. The simplicity of it, the idea, the execution, like I think it digs into something a little bit more where it's like the swipe, it's like the swipe thing.
Well, and people are starting to like question, are people using these bananas to like launder money? Like all of the conspiracy theories are creeping in through the comments, and you're just kind of like, yeah, because people used NFTs to launder money. So there's some logic.
I assume this has only been up for like less than a year.
It's only been up for days. Like, I don't know how long the game has been it's not been up for very long, but the trend of like shooting it to the number 2 of the spot and like everyone playing it and these banana peel skins coming out, that's only been like the last 48 hours. Honestly, our show goes live on Wednesday. This is Monday. It probably is dead by then. It will not surprise me if Steam doesn't pull this, because it's just one of those things that, I absolutely think Steam will pull it.
Really?
I do. They've done it in the past. They have.
Based on what grounds?
Based on they don't want to have their like digital trading stuff be devalued and looked at in a negative light. It just devalues the platform to be taken less seriously.
Wow.
They're not a company out there who's trying to just get people to buy whatever digital stuff that they can. They're not trying to pump and dump the market. And pumping and dumping, they have in the past, when people have pumped and dumped their like digital tradings, they've just taken the games completely offline. In fact, from what I've researched, and this might not be entirely true, but the person who developed the banana game was already involved with a game that got removed off of Steam because of a pump and dump of the digital trading. So there's a little bit of a history of like, this has kind of been tinkered with. It wasn't this person's game, but they were affiliated as a developer.
So this is not a Dole branded, like...
No.
The Dole company didn't...
No. This is not Chiquita Banana out here trying to sell NFTs. Like, no, let's be real.
It might work. Someone sat around the board and said, look, I got this idea. I know how we can get in on this.
It's a slippery slope. See, that was a banana joke. You missed
that. I missed it.
Slippery. Yeah. I thought it was appealing.
Wow. Can someone please get this guy out of here? He's here all night. It actually is funny though, because my Mario Kart days, that was my game, man. So the Donkey Kong banana, like the hell's a special place.
For everybody. All right, we are going to take a moment and kick it over to Lily with Dispatch from the Fringe, always with the weirdest stories. Lily, take it away.
Hello, Kathy and Lee. Welcome to this week's Dispatch from the Fringe, where the battle between artists and AI continues. Can artificial intelligence make art? Does the prompt count as artistic technique and novel creation? Well, one artist, Miles Astre, entered a real photo of a flamingo into the AI category of the 1839 Color Photography Awards. He wanted to flip the script of AI-generated images that sometimes win photography contests. So the 1839 Color Photography Awards was judged by people who work for the New York Times, Getty Images, Christie's, and others. And apparently, none could tell that Astre's photo was real. The judges placed it as third in the AI category, and it also won the People's Vote Award. Astre said in the email to Petapixel, who covered the story, he said, I wanted to show that nature can still beat the machine and that there's still merit in real work from real creatives. Robin Finlayson, a landscape and nature photographer, is the person who won in the AI category. In 2023, a photography contest threw out a genuine iPhone picture because they suspected it of being AI generated, even though it was real. So maybe the question should be not AI versus real photography, but how can we use technology to confirm if an image is genuine or machine created? And that is your Dispatch from the Fringe.
All right. I love this one. I love this story. Basically, the whole idea of someone going in with real photography, dropping it into an AI image contest, and walking away with winning only to be denied because it was a real photo.
It's a category glitch. It's not a violation.
I know this is a tiny story, but I would watch this movie. Now, it'd have to be done like a Best in Show. Like, it would have to be mockumentary style.
Sure.
But I would watch this movie of just like someone breaking into like, stick it to the digital man. I'm going to win this contest by the sweat of my brow.
You're rooting for the organic artists. You're rooting for the 100% organic artists. And yeah, they win. You know what's super crazy is the fact that the judges, like the New York Times, Getty Images, like all of these folks, these institutions are over here trying to say like, look, you're not allowed to win this, even though we all have clearly agreed. And it's just kind of funny.
What blows my mind of that story is the people who were the judges are the ones who stand the most to lose by AI generated imagery.
Facts.
Like that, I would love to understand the thought process behind that.
I also just want to know the photo, because I saw the photo. The flamingo is in whatever that position is called that flamingos do, where staying warm, tucking their head underneath. I want to know how the guy shot it. Like, I want to know the story of the flamingo, because that's the movie that I want to see.
It's like he goes out, he makes this really difficult image.
Oh, no, there's a whole backstory to the flamingo just even leading up to that shot, and then that shot becoming the winning piece. I tell you, man, she comes up with the craziest, like...
Yes, thank you, Lily.
Thanks, Lily. You got a good one there.
And I think that's going to do it for our show. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Come back next week. More tech magic. Come for the tech, stay for the magic. Kathy, we miss you. I hope you're enjoying your time at the Cannes Film Festival. Adam, thank you so much for filling in.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry you had to deal with me. For my antics.
Never, you will be back.
They'll never have me back again. But thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, everyone. When you get a chance, drop us a note, leave us a rating on Apple iTunes. We're always here to hear interesting stories. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm Lee Kebler, Adam Davis-McGee. In lieu of Kathy Hackle, who is not with us, she'll be back with us next week. And this has been Tech Magic.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply. Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.